𝗬𝗃 from Jaipur. And okay, I see Sushant is dialing in from Jammu. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being on time. We are still going to wait for a moment. I see around 50 people who have connected already. We are expecting around 150, 170 to come in. So I'm just going to give the latecomers a minute to dial in before we start the presentation. So please let us know the city that you're dialing in from in the meanwhile. Okay, I see Basat is dialing in from Nainital, the beautiful hill station. So yeah, a little jealous of that. I would love to be there. I see Hanisha is dialing in from Tokyo. Welcome, Hanisha. Thank you for connecting. All right, I see Ronit is dialing in from Delhi, Charan is from Mysore. So yeah, Brendan, we do have an audience from all over the place. And yeah, I see north, south, east, and west of the country represented. And also, okay, Basit, I get your message. Some of you are on schedule, and I really appreciate that. But Zoom does take a moment to connect at times. So I just want to give the audience to those of the people who are still connecting, who are still installing Zoom on their system. I still want to give them a minute so that they don't miss out on this very interesting session. In the meanwhile, while I wait for the audience to come in, I'm going to run a quick poll as well. So you'll see the poll going live on your screen in a second. So you'll see the poll live on your screen right now. The question to you is, in which year do you intend to start your master's education? So do let us know which intake of, say, the Masters in Management at INSEAD or any other master's program that you're targeting. Which intake are you targeting? Are you looking at the 2022 intake? Are you planning for the 2023 intake? Are you planning for the 2024 intake? Or you are yet undecided about your master's plan? Akash, a quick request, please reply to the poll. Instead of letting us know in the chat box, please reply to the poll. That would be more important. That would be more relevant. All right, I'm just going to keep the poll live for another minute. So the question is, in which year do you intend to start your master's education? Please let us know that by responding to this poll. All right. I'm just going to wait for another 5 to 10 seconds. So if you haven't yet responded to the poll, please let us know which year do you intend to start your master's education. All right, with that, I'm going to end this particular poll and I'm going to share the results as well. So as you can see, around 30% of the audience is targeting the 2022 intake, so this year's intake. Around 47% are targeting the 2023 intake, and the remaining approximately 24% are undecided or targeting the 2024 intake. So thank you for letting us know. This is really important information for us and relevant for us as well. At this moment, let me introduce ourselves. Let me do the quick introductions. So my name is 𝗬𝗃. I'm a director and co-founder at INSEAD Global Education. We are the ones facilitating today's session and interaction with Brendan Law, who is the assistant director at INSEAD with INSEAD's admissions team. He is in charge of recruitment for the Masters in Management program at INSEAD. So he's going to do a quick presentation for you guys over the next 25-30 minutes, give you an overview of the INSEAD MIM, and then we are going to take some quick questions for him. So if you have any questions for him, you can post them in the Q&A chat box. So any questions that you have, post them in the Q&A box, and I'll pick up the relevant ones to ask him post his presentation. So with that, I'll hand it over to Brendan. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Sanjay, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you today, albeit virtually. So yeah, thanks for joining. I'm not going to talk too much about INSEAD because I'm going to go with the assumption that you've already heard of us. So yeah, fairly famous school. What I do want to focus about today is going to be the Masters in Management in particular. But of course, I represent both the MBA as well as the Masters in Management. So right, it's not too much about me as well. I've been at INSEAD for a while now. I focus on not just the Indian students as well. I also do the Southeast Asian market. So yeah, I'm not big on self-introductions anyway. But yeah. So what I want to talk about today is very briefly introduce the INSEAD Masters in Management program to you, and then also discuss the career opportunities for our students, as well as talk about the admissions processes. And later on in the one-to-one sessions, if you're signing up for those, I also want to do a little bit of a deep dive into how each candidate might put their best foot forward when it comes to the INSEAD application. I will say this up front, applying to the INSEAD Master in Management is a difficult process. It is not one to be taken lightly. On average, successful applicants put as much as 2 months into writing their essays and preparing their applications. This is not even to talk about the GMAT. So it is not an easy process. It can be highly competitive. But what I hope to share with you today is not just why it's worth all that effort, but also how you might go through all that effort with the best possible outcome. All right. So the INSEAD Master in Management, like the same program in pretty much any other school around the world, is targeted at younger professionals, on average 23 years old, with less than 2 years of work experience. Some of the differences, though, is that the INSEAD Master in Management is a fairly accelerated program, which is only 10 months in duration. This does not exclude the typical 4 to 6 months internship that our students usually do after they graduate from the Masters in Management. It's also unique in the sense that it covers many locations. Students will visit a minimum of 2 continents during their Master in Management. More often than not, they'll go to a third one somewhere along the way. So it's a very international kind of program. And of course, why is this internationality good? What else about INSEAD makes it stand out? Like I said, it's a top-ranked business school. The Master in Management is not ranked because it is less than 3 years old. And if you are familiar with the Financial Times ranking methodology, you have to have been around for 3 years before you even get to be considered. So we just aren't old enough to be considered. On the other hand, the MBA, as you all well know, just made third in the entire world this year, only after Wharton and Columbia, on par with Harvard, which I think is a pretty good result. So INSEAD as a school is extremely well known. We have great alumni network, which I will go into later when we talk about the career opportunities. International exposure, as I've already said, besides just getting to go to many countries during your studies, you get to meet students from all over the world as well. In a class of, say, 200 students, we would easily expect at least 50 different countries represented, and that kind of diversity is amazing. The curriculum is very practical. You will see that in a second. Skills that we teach are obviously in demand, and you will get access to the top employers. Again, more on that later, but do keep all this in mind of what the MIM is supposed to deliver. As I've mentioned, it's a 10-month program. It's divided into 5 periods. So each period, obviously, for 2 months. What happens within a single period? First, you spend about 5 weeks just developing knowledge. You attend classes, right? You just go to classes, you interact with faculty, you hear them. And then you spend 2 weeks applying knowledge. And these are where you have practical sessions, more examples to come. And after you've completed both the theory and the practice, you just test that knowledge with an exam. So each period, in terms of flow, is very similar in terms of what you learn in the periods. Now, bear with me. I know that the words are a little small, but essentially, you will see that the modules covered are very much the basics of any business management program. It's almost like an MBA, but like I said, it's targeted for younger professionals, right? As for how that whole flow of theory, practice, and exams come about, if you can look at the module titles for, say, period 1, you study data analysis, you study financial reporting, and you study marketing. You put that all together by using data analytical methods to study the finances of the company and then recommend a marketing approach or a communications approach for it. You are literally tying 3 separate skills into a very business relevant application. And this is a pattern you will see repeated in most of the periods. So yeah, there go your practicals. The workshops are also there to complement your learning. So these workshops are not courses per se, but these are sessions or seminars that you attend to learn more about things that are not necessarily part of an MIM curriculum, right? If you're looking here, you'll see also that in periods 3, 4, and 5, you have options of going on field trips to other areas of the world, such as to Abu Dhabi, where we have a campus as well. You can also have a field trip to China, or you can have a field trip to the USA, which is typically to our innovation hub in San Francisco. All right. So yeah, you spend the first 3 periods in Fontainebleau. That is a nice little sort of city off Paris. And then you spend periods 4 and 5 in Singapore, which is exactly where I am. Right. The internship, like I said, is 4 to 6 months. Not every single student does an internship. You will see in the career statistics later that actually a good proportion of the class went on straight to full-time employment. Okay, by the way, Sanjay, if there are any questions along the way that you think are urgent, please feel free to stop me. Right, I'm just rattling on without looking.
Sure, okay. I'll come in if required.
Thank you very much for that. All right, so a very quick pictorial description. If any of you here have been to either Fontainebleau or Singapore, you would know that these are two very, very different locations. Singapore is vibrant, it's modern, it's clean, it's right in the heart of the city. And Fontainebleau is actually quite idyllic. The campus is basically in the castle that used to be Napoleon's holiday home. So yeah, two very different feelings. You will get to go through both. And if you want to go on a few trips, again, they are usually 1 week in duration to very, very different kind of environments. Each field trip is guaranteed to give you a very good business perspective of cultures in that particular country. So these are all things to look forward to in the program. Also, in terms of the classroom experience, we really focus a lot on building soft skills and collaborative skills among classmates. So we do this by having lively classroom discussions. We are very fortunate that in the current pandemic situation, both in Fontainebleau and in Singapore, the pandemic has been fairly well controlled. All classes are now in person, live, with minimal social distancing requirements that do not get in the way of classes, right? So yeah, in these pictures, students are not wearing masks. If you come to our classroom, you will wear a mask, but you're doing pretty much the same things, same discussions, same case studies, same role plays, same study groups, all right? Now, to the important part, the career. Everybody who comes to a MIM program wants a good career afterwards, and many of you have different ideas on what a good career means for you. Our aim here is really to prepare you for the career you want, not to prepare you for a career we want you to have. Right? There's a significant difference. The way we do it is in a 3-step program. Number 1, we assess you, or rather we help you assess yourself. You tell us more about your attributes. We try to find out what drives you, what motivates you, what makes you want to go to work. And we help you identify skills that will be unique to you and which are matched to whichever industry that you were hoping to go to. Then, once you've identified where you should be looking at, we start aiming, we start helping you to teach you how do you get into that. Say, as like with most MIM students, you want to be a consultant. We check if you are going to be a good fit. And we tell you, if you want to be a consultant, what areas of consultancy can your profile target? How do you start getting jobs and opportunities there? How do you build connections? And once you've identified all that, we accelerate you, we train you, we prepare you for the exact steps that you're supposed to take. It's a very guided process, but keep in mind, we do not give you jobs. We do not place you in organizations, right? That is really up to you. Despite that, despite students being the main driver of this, we know our students are very successful. Right? 66% of our recently graduated cohorts were accepted full-time opportunities. 26% of them got internships that they wanted. As far as I can tell, in every MIM student I've had a conversation with, they had multiple offers. Nobody had just the one, right? And of course, 8% of them already received their offer even as they are starting their internship. What does this mean? It means that 100% of the graduating classes got something. Nobody was left out in the cold. I can also tell you that at least for the MBB firms, I know that BCG accepted 8 students from a batch of only 92. That's about 10%. And 10% of a cohort that was in its first year being accepted into an MBB firm is nothing short of phenomenal. That's the kind of career support that our students are looking at. In terms of, again, like I said, consulting is very, very popular. 50% of the cohort got into consulting. They are practically all over the world, although naturally, the most popular consulting offices remain in London and in Singapore, which is why you see that the gravity of our students tend to stay in these 2 regions, right? However, internationality is still very high. More than half the class work outside their home country. Those who work back in their home country tend to do so because that's their preference anyway. Okay, so the whole thing looks great, right? It's an exciting program. You get to go places, you get great jobs afterwards. So where do you come in? How do you get into it? This is what it looks like. Applying to the INSEAD MIM, like I mentioned, is not easy, but it is straightforward. The things we look out for are exceedingly simple. Just 3 pillars. Number 1, academic performance. Basically, you need to be book smart enough to complete the curriculum because it is not going to be easy. Secondly, we need you to have international motivation. Right? It doesn't mean you have had to travel a lot, but you must be somebody who wants to become a global citizen, and you need to showcase this kind of passion, this kind of desire to us. Lastly, obviously, the ability to contribute. Why would the rest of your classmates want you in the class? Very simple. How we get to learn all these from you is over a suite of documents that form the application package. The whole thing is done online. You share a GMAT or a GRE score with us. This is non-negotiable. You have to do either one. You give us your academic transcripts or mark sheets for those of you who haven't completed your studies yet. You share your language certifications with us, if any. By the way, I want to take a pause here to highlight that for students who completed their undergraduate studies in India, you do not need TOEFL or IELTS. Okay, I repeat, you do not need the TOEFL or the IELTS. We know that all Indian colleges complete their degrees in English. We know that if you graduate from India, you can speak English. We don't need any more test scores. The meat of your applications are going to be these motivation essays, right? And you will see a whole string of questions. Each essay is quite short, maybe 400 words at most. This forces you to be really concise, to really think about what you want to tell us, and that's why it can take as long as 2 months to get these together. We also need you to have 2 letters of recommendation, either academic or professional. If you have internships, if you've been employed for less than 2 years, or if you're fresh out of school, your professors are fine. After you send us all that, you'll be notified for a video interview. There are 5 questions from a total bank of about 400 different questions randomly selected. You cannot predict in advance what you're going to get. And frankly, we don't encourage you to, right? Just answer those 5 questions. You can practice all you want on the platform. Just make sure that when you finally come to answering the actual questions, you are comfortable, you are ready, and you are authentic. So that's it. The whole process is actually fairly short. I think it takes about anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks from the submission of your application to the announcement of the outcome. I saw earlier somebody thought that the 2020 intake had already closed. We are not. Good news, we are still open. Here are the deadlines for our August 2022 intake for those who want to start this year. We are currently in round 4, as you can see, which ends on the 30th of March. Round 5, the final one, ends on the 25th of May. If you are keen on the 2022 intake, you actually have about 3 more months to go to submit by the final deadline. All right. Of course, if you want to go for the 2023 intake, the deadlines are going to be roughly the same, just change all the 2021s to 2022, right? Like the process I told you earlier, that takes 6 to 8 weeks. Online application, review, do an interview, get vetted by the admissions committee, and you hear the final decision from us in due time, right? Okay. Another topic that might be on many of your minds is this program worth it, basically? Well, I think it is, right? Obviously, I would say that, but yeah. In terms of tuition fees, it can look a little daunting, but trust me, it is quite an investment. As you can see by the career statistics, the return on investment can be very high, given that students tend to gravitate towards very well-paying industries like finance, like tech, like consulting. And we also have various scholarships to help students deal with the whole outlay of these tuition fees. So these scholarships, on average, are awarded to 1 in every 4 students. The average amount awarded is about 10,000 euros, which is about 20% of the tuition fee. That's pretty... Okay, I think that's helpful. That is helpful. And in terms of the categories of scholarships available, we have many different types. Some are diversity scholarships, some are achievement scholarships. Many of them are automatically considered. So once you submit your application, if you're eligible for a scholarship, you will be informed along the way. Some of them require you to submit an application, and you will be invited to do so after you clear your interview or at the appropriate step in your application. All right, so the opportunities are there. We try to be as generous as we can. If scholarships aren't enough to help you, you can also approach other funding partners, like the names listed here, for education loans or anything that might help you. So yeah, in terms of tuition fees, this is all I have to say. Do note that costs of living, whether in Paris or in Singapore, in terms of accommodation, food, these will have to be out of pocket, right? I'm not going to go into a typical breakdown of expenditure because it varies a lot on your lifestyle preferences, but a lot of these statistics can be easily found on our website or on most online forums. And that brings me to what I really wanted to do today. Most of that was just introduction, just by the way, just getting to know INSEAD. What I want to help you do today is to go along the 3 pillars of the application, the admissions that I've spoken about. And if you're coming for the one to, just to meet me later in the half-hour sessions, what I want to help you to do is to brainstorm the various ways in which your profile can be presented in a way that answers these 3 pillars. Right, so that's the value of these sessions later. Of course, because there was a restriction on how many students I can meet this evening, if you can't make it for these sessions, but you still want to learn more about this, you want to get ready your application, you can always reach out to me separately. Okay, I left my LinkedIn QR code earlier. I didn't leave time for that, but I'll go back to that page later. So if you want to add me on LinkedIn, if you want to drop me a message, you want to follow up, feel free to do so. All right. Aside from just catching up with me, there are obviously a whole host of other ways in which you can stay in touch with us. You can attend our events. You can look up at our webpage. You can join us. You can add us on LinkedIn. You can also email this website. You can email this email address directly if you want to book a consultation, or if you want to find out more, or just get connected to somebody from INSEAD. All right. So there are a whole host of other ways. Just Google us, and it's like all the information is up there. Okay, and with that, I have gone through really quickly because, like some of you mentioned, you are on a schedule, and I wanted to leave more time for questions and answers. So Sanjay, take it away, please.
Sure. So Brendan, thanks for that. And there have been a lot of questions. There are 19 questions which have come in so far. But fortunately, we do have a good 20-25 minutes available now to take up these questions. And we'll try to address as many of those as possible. Now, one question which is given a lot of our audience is from India. One common question trend which I'm seeing from the audience is about the recognition for the INSEAD MIM if some of these candidates decide to come back to India. So do you have any alumni from INSEAD, the MIM program, who have graduated? I know it's a recent start. I think the program started in 2019, so it's just been 1 or 2 cohorts so far. But do you have any experience of alumni coming to India and making careers over here?
Well, the thing about Indian candidates is that most of them don't want to go back to India immediately. All right, almost all of them want to work overseas, and they pretty much succeed in that respect. Like I said, so the first batch was 92 students. The ones that got 100% offers and internships were that batch. They are the only batch that has graduated so far. All right. So unfortunately, I can't think offhand of any Indian candidate in particular who went back to India. I'm sure that there are many alumni who are probably based in other parts of the world. However, if you want to talk about recognition of the INSEAD brand, I challenge you to find any branded employer who has not heard of our school. Right? Our MBA students are all over the place, literally 60,000 alumni over the world. The brand is very, very well known. And give it 2 more years when we get ranked, I'm very confident we will get a very good ranking of first time round.
I can vouch for that. In fact, last year towards September, October, we did a webinar with an alumnus of the INSEAD MIM program. I will share the link for the recording of that session in the chat box soon, and you'll be able to see how his journey was from having done his engineering in Jaipur to now working in consulting in Amsterdam. So this alumnus had transitioned from India to consulting in Europe through the INSEAD MIM program. So I'll share the recording of that in the chat box soon for our audience to watch it as well. But Brendan, on that note, a question on the career services. So how do the career services work for the MIM program?
Okay, I think I alluded to that earlier in my assess, aim, and accelerate. But if you want the nuts and bolts of how this process actually looks like, it's a very guided process, right? We know that students here don't normally have a lot of experience with the corporate sector. So we do things like CV reviews, where we have an entire row of booths set up. All the expert CV reviewers are seated there, and you just come in, talk to one, show your CV, get guidance on the spot, and then you go off with a better CV, stuff like that. We obviously also have a lot of recruiters coming onto campus to speak with students, to network with students. One good thing that we enjoy by virtue of our brand is that these key employers look to us as a way to fill up their pipelines. They rely on us the same way we rely on them, and they're very enthusiastic about coming to our campus. We will see recruitment fairs from MBB firms for sure, most other consulting firms as well, and we'll also typically see presence from the big IB firms, from the big tech firms. In these sessions, they don't come to hire on the spot, but they come to network with students to build those connections, and we train you on how to make the most of these opportunities to get into the jobs that you want, right? So you aren't going to be some Marvel superhero where you just get your powers like that. You have to work for it, but if you put in the effort, as you can see our first graduating batch did, you will get the results. Oh, I'm sorry, Sanjay, to interrupt. I forgot one thing I wanted to add. If you were to read up about hiring trends for the MBB firms and the major tech firms this year, most industry experts think that there is going to be a hiring boom. They are going to hire like crazy. So if you want to get into those sectors, this year could be a pretty good time for you. Just saying.
That's great to know and extremely interesting. Brendan, one question about the work experience, right? Mm-hmm. So INSEAD has an MBA program, which is again a top ranked. I know you have topped the Financial Times rankings multiple times. You're amongst the top 3 globally in the most recent rankings as well. Now, if someone is, let's say, around 2 years of work experience, you're just reaching 2 years or just slightly over 2 years, then which program would you recommend a candidate to apply to? Should they target the MBA or should they target the MIM? And what are the major differences, right? What differences can they expect in the learning experience between the MIM and the MBA?
Okay, that is an excellent question, and we deal with that all the time. So first of all, just let me inform you that we count these 2 years from the point of the program start. So if you're approaching 2 years now and you're thinking of 2023, you don't count yourself as a 2-year experience, okay? Just helping you to put that in perspective. Now, if you happen to be one of those on the borderline anyway, the 2 years mark is really just a proxy. What we really are looking out for is your exposure to corporate skills and environments. So for instance, you could have 2 years, but fairly sheltered. Maybe in these 2 years, you haven't really absorbed much. Or you could have only 1.5 years, but you've been, high flyer, exposed to all sorts of things, entrepreneurs. So length is just one proxy for the quality we're actually looking at. All right. What makes the difference between the MIM and the MBA? Well, you have to think about the people that you are going to meet in the program, right? If you're at the 2-year mark, most of your classmates in an MBA would have at least 3 years on you. There'd be 4 or 5 years on average. How would you fit in a class who has so much more experience to talk about, right? Do you think that in your 2 years, you've experienced or observed as much as the average person with 5 years experience? And keep in mind that MBA students are not average. Right? They are people who tend to pack a lot in their 5 years as well. Right? So if you think that you are at that level, by all means, go for the MBA. However, if you think that you are comfortable being in a class of younger, talented people, about less than 2 years of experience, and most importantly, you feel that you have less exposure to business fundamentals, then go for the MIM. All right? They cover the same modules, but from slightly different perspectives. So in an MBA program where you learn about financial accounting, you do not need to know accounting, but you should at least be familiar with the role that a balance sheet plays in a company's strategic making process, for example. But you're a MIM student, you are not expected to know any of that. You go in completely blind. We understand that, right? So even for the same topic, there's a slightly different perspective coming from it, and you should determine for yourself which one you best belong in.
All right, so that provides great clarity. So look at, of course, the fit with the program, where you are Where do you feel ready? And if you're borderline, then take a call whether to target the MIM now, or maybe get some more experience for another few months and target the MBA directly as well. Brenton, one question. Are there any scenarios under which you would waive off the GMAT or GRE requirement? A lot of schools have done this during the last year, during the COVID disruption, or they do it for CFA charter holders. Does INSEAD have any such options or leeways?
Unfortunately, that is a hard no. It will not happen. And there are good reasons for that. But yeah, I'm sorry, we will not be considering waivers for any profiles.
All right. So a GMAT or a GRE is mandatory, so there's no leeway for that. You can't get away from that. I also want to thank Akanksha and Fianshu for the previous question. So I took up their questions and combined them together. So thanks to both of you for asking those particular questions. They were highly relevant. Now, Brenton, again, this question is going to come up for a lot of these Indian candidates where they have a choice of good institutions within India. So IIMs are, of course, reputed. There's ISB, which does offer an MBA program, or deferred MBA program as well. So their trade-off is whether to study within India or to go outside, which is, of course, significantly more expensive for an Indian candidate. There's currency exchange rates to be taken into account.
Yes.
Any guidance on that front? What should be their reason for looking at an MBA or an MIM program outside of India rather than an MBA program or an MIM program within India?
Okay. Again, very good question. Again, let me first start off by saying that I completely agree with you that the top Indian universities are excellent, right? So yes, they are very valid options. The main difference is where you want to work. If you want to continue developing your career within India, obviously the top Indian universities make a lot more sense for you because it's cheaper and they are better recognized. However, if you want to work outside of India, that is where an international university is going to make a lot more sense. For example, if you want to work for McKinsey in London, honestly speaking, the INSEAD MBA is going to get you a lot further than one of your IIM or IIT degrees. Similarly, if you want to work in India, then those universities would probably hold a little more weight than INSEAD or HEC or whatever you have. So yeah, it's purely a difference of where you want to work. I'm not going to say that either option is better in terms of curriculum or quality.
All right. So if your goal is, if you're looking for an international career, then look at a school like INSEAD, which has a network around the world, a global reputation. Brendan, if I get this correctly, INSEAD alumni work in more than 60, 70 countries currently. I know quite a few of them are in Europe, a lot of them in across Asia, North America as well.
Yeah.
So
yes. So let me. It will be very difficult for you to go to a country that doesn't have INSEAD alumni.
True. I know quite a few who work within India as well and outside of India, in Europe, US as well, and really strong alumni network over there.
Yes.
But if your primary goal is that you want to work in India immediately post the program, then maybe an Indian option could also be relevant for those particular audience.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thanks for being so candid. Otherwise, we see a lot of people just pitching their own school, but this is very sane advice and relevant and very candid to the audience. I'm sure they'll appreciate all of this. Brenton, one question on the average GRE or GMAT score for the cohort.
Okay.
I know for Indians, it tends to get extremely competitive. You would have thousands of applications from India. So what is the score that the candidate should be targeting?
Well, yeah, again, very good question. I will tell you upfront that I've seen 770s get rejected. So yeah, it isn't all about the score. Anyway, we don't just look at the total score. We look at a balance in the components. So for the GMATs, we are hoping students get at least a 70th percentile in each component. All right. The baseline for that should be about a 680. Right. Of course, if your verbal is super high, like a 90th percentile, you can easily get in the 700s, but you might still have a very weak quant percentile of just 60th percentile. Not what we want. We want a balance in both components. All right. So for the GMAT, 70th percentile, for the GRE, 80th percentile. All right, so that's like the bare minimum. But like I said, I've seen students who slightly below that get admitted. I've seen students who way above that who don't get admitted. Right. So yeah. The GMAT is really only one part of the application.
Right. So to the audience, I'm just going to reiterate this. So of course, if you have a high score, it improves your chances, gives you that advantage as well. But score is not the only factor to look at. Your profile, your extracurriculars, your application, your interview performance, all of these play a role. So of course, do your best on the GMAT GRE, but don't just get limited by that. Focus on making a great application, showcasing your strengths and highlighting your achievements, and you make it through to INSEAD, even with an average GMAT GRE score.
Yeah, couldn't have put it better myself.
Perfect. Brendan, I know we are focusing this session on the MIM program, but there's also a Masters in Finance that INSEAD offers. So are there other options, or is it the accelerated Masters in Finance for the more experienced people? I'm guessing it's for the senior executives. That's an option. But any other Masters programs at INSEAD that our audience can look at?
Unfortunately not. INSEAD really only has the MIM and the MBA as full-time degree programs. We have yet to branch out into specialized masters like the Masters in Finance that I know many other good schools offer. The alternative we have are executive degrees, which are definitely not for people of our audience's age group. So yeah, that is something that we've only chosen to cast our lot with just these two programs for now. So unfortunately, if you want a more specialized ones, then this may not be the school for you.
Sure. And Brendan, again, there are some queries around the application and the weightages to various parameters. So I understand previous academic scores would have some weightage in the evaluation. GMAT, GRE would have some weightage, profile, application, all of those. Are you comfortable sharing some percentage numbers on the weightage over here? Or is that confidential information for the school?
It is not confidential because there aren't any such weightages. Like I know a lot of schools say this, but I mean it like with all my heart. Evaluation here is purely holistic, which is why we're seeing students with low GMAT scores get in on the strength of a very, very authentic and very resonant kind of personal essay. We've seen students get in on glowing recommendations. Obviously, we also have students with excellent GMAT scores. So yeah, there is no fixed weightage. There's no magic recipe for what is going to get you in and what's going to get you out, right? It really is down to a whole profile kind of thing. So I wish I could, but I don't have any.
No worries. That's very candid and transparent. I'm going to make, so I see a lot of questions have come in. So I have another 33 questions which are open right now. To make my life easier, I'm going to give audience a chance. So any particular question that you want me to pick up and ask Brendan, upvote those questions. You have an option to upvote the questions in the Q&A chat box. So just click like on that particular question, that would get upvoted, and that would tell me which is the most important question to the audience. So I'll pick up those particular questions to ask Brendan. In the meanwhile, while you upvote those questions, I'm also going to, since I see the upvotes come in already, this is a question which Ronit has asked, and 6 people so far have upvoted it. This is the question on the duration of work permit. So after the MIM at INSEAD, given that there's a dual campus model, what is the work permit that the audience can expect either in Europe or Singapore?
It will be between 6 to 12 months, depending on the prevailing immigration policies of the country. So by work permit, right, I think Ronin means the permission to stay in the country even without being employed, 6 to 12 months.
All right. So 6 to 12 months is when you can, the duration that you can stay back in the country post the program without having a job.
Looking for a job.
Yep, while you're looking for a job.
Once you have the job, it's dependent on the employer.
That's right. So you can be without a job, you can continue staying back when you're searching for a job for 6 to 12 months. But once you have the job, then your company sponsors it. And given that I've been in this industry for 10, 12 years, I have a lot of friends who studied at INSEAD as well. Majority of the students do end up finding a job even before they graduate. So the companies sponsor them. And it's not necessary that you end up working only in Europe or in France post your program, right? You may end up finding an opportunity in North America. I know of a fair number of INSEAD alumni who have done that, got an opportunity in North America. So then the sponsorship, the visa became relevant to there. Some came back to Asia, took up opportunities in various countries in Asia or other parts of the world. And then the work visa that you look for is dependent on the country where you are taking up employment. And I am aware of this, that the career services team for INSEAD is really strong and spread across the globe. They are able to scout opportunities across the world. So, basically the whole world is your oyster, basically, opposed to INSEAD MIM or the INSEAD programs. Great. So I hope I have done justice to that particular question from Ronit. And thank you for all of those who upvoted. That question made my life easier. Now, the next question, which I see, which has a lot of upvotes, and that's 8 upvotes as of now. This is from Ishika, who's firstly asking if internships count as work experience. Secondly, her question is, there are many MIM programs that are offered in Europe from other premier schools as well. What makes one at INSEAD different? So what is so unique about the INSEAD MIM compared to the other MIM programs that are offered in Europe? And are there people who ended up starting their own business or became entrepreneurs post the INSEAD MIM? So I know only one cohort has graduated so far, so that may be very limited data set. But have you had any entrepreneurs post the program so far?
Okay. So excellent questions. Again, I'm going to do this really quickly because I see we are very short on time. So internships do not count as work experience. Okay, full stop. Enough said. There are indeed many very, very good MIM programs. HEC, for example, has been running theirs for years and years. What makes ours different? Well, we are INSEAD. You might as well ask what makes our MBA different, and it's obviously doing a lot better than the other schools, right? So yeah. There is a very, very definitive INSEAD culture, INSEAD DNA. The quality of the faculty, the insistence we have on the quality of students, every single one of these aspects makes it different. The branding, the recognition by employers, also different, right? Employers may prefer INSEAD over other schools, they may see us differently. So all of these things are simply us. It's what makes us us, right? So other people end up starting their own business in this particular cohort? No, not yet. All right, so I'm also looking at the Q&A panel now, just in the interest of time, if you don't mind, Sanjay, I'm just going to give a really good lightning answer every single one. All right, in order of the most upvoted. How much difference does it make applying round 4 and 5? Well, in the earlier rounds, you have better chances of scholarships. In the later rounds, not so much. However, admission chances of getting into the program are consistent across all 5 rounds. Yes, INSEAD does cost substantially higher than other universities. I hope I've covered the differences. And again, drawing comparison to the MBA, and hopefully next time for the MIM, it will hold true when we have the same data. Despite the high cost, the INSEAD MBA is still one of the best ROI MBAs in the entire world. All right, just keep that for reference. Next time when the MIM is ranked, we'll see if that holds true as well. Scope coming from engineering background, doesn't matter, you can come from any background. Ideal undergrad CGPA, that's a tricky one because I know in India there's some level of standardization, like anywhere from a 6 upwards upon 10 is considered first class, but which college that 6 comes from makes a lot of difference, right? So there isn't really an ideal. If you have a GPA you're not satisfied with, get a higher GMAT score to kind of like show evidence that you're academically able. So that's it. There isn't an ideal, so to speak. It's just think of ways to prove your academic ability otherwise, right? If you have 3 years of work experience, unfortunately, it's very unlikely you will be considered. Again, it depends on the quality of that experience as well. All right, so average academic score, that isn't one. Again, I've talked about CGPA already. And okay, last question I'm going to answer. Additional language for INSEAD MIM, yes. You need at least 2 languages to get in, English and your native tongue. To graduate, you need a 3rd language, and this can be anyone. It doesn't have to be French. You can learn this 3rd language only after being admitted to the MIM. You don't have to learn it before or when you apply. All right. So that's it. 8:45. I'm done with my lightning round.
This is wonderful, and thank you for that rapid fire. Answered a lot of. We were able to cover a lot of questions. I know to the audience you have more questions coming in, and I'm guessing we are leaving a lot of the questions unanswered, but if we try to answer all the questions which you're asking, I think this session would go on for another 3 to 5 hours. So we don't want to do that. Brendan, you had shared details on how the audience can get in touch with the INSEAD team. If you're comfortable, can you share that screen, that slide once more so that they can also know how to get in touch for their other queries. Those of you who are on this call, in the meanwhile, while Brendan shares the information how to get in touch, I'm going to launch our last poll for the evening. You'll see that on your screen right now. The question is on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest and 5 is the highest. How confident do you feel about submitting your best possible application to the INSEAD MIM program post this session? We have answered a lot of your questions, given you a lot of information. We hope we have not scared you with any challenging information. But so on a scale of 1 to 5, let us know how confident you feel that your basis the information that you've got in this session and the other sources that you've researched, that you would be able to make your best possible application to the INSEAD MIM. Okay. I do have a lot of responses come in. I'm gonna keep the poll open for another 5 seconds. So if you can please let us know how confident you feel about submitting your best possible application to the INSEAD MIM basis all the information that you've got so far. All right. With that, I'm going to end this poll, and I am going to share the results as well for the benefit of the audience. So around 52% are in the top 2 boxes. So either they feel highly confident or very, very confident. Around 41% are at 3 on the 5-point scale. So they are at average or indifferent as of now. And only 8% are below the average. So there's, of course, scope for your people to find more information. So you should research the program, check out the other webinars that the INSEAD MIM team and INSEAD admissions team is doing. Check out the website, download the brochure, do your research. Some of you who are in the audience right now have also been scheduled to do one-to-one or have one-to-one profile evaluation discussions with Brendan today evening. So do attend those conversations as well. You would be able to clarify a lot of your queries around your profile in those interactions as well. And for any further queries, any more information that you're looking for, of course, check out the website or connect with Brendan on LinkedIn, reach out to him, or drop an email to the INSEAD's admissions helpline email address that you'll find on the website or on the brochure. So contact, reach out, collect all the information, possibly try speaking to a couple of current students or alumni as well. And that would give you further confidence to make your best possible application to the INSEAD MIM. So again, Brendan is showing the various modes that you can connect with INSEAD. There's the email address, there's the website, there's LinkedIn, there's YouTube. All the channels are available. Do reach out, clarify your doubts, and gain that confidence to make your best possible application to the INSEAD MIM if you're looking to go ahead with that application. On that note, I know we are over time and we are running late for the one-to-one profile evaluations that have been scheduled. So I want to thank Brendan for taking out the time to make this presentation and being a sport to take up so many rapid fire questions from the audience. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you for doing this. And we will surely look forward to doing the one-to-ones.
It's been a real pleasure. I do look forward to meeting those of you who have booked the one-for-one sessions. Thank you for your time in staying with me this evening to listen more about, I'm very passionate about my school. So yeah, see you guys. Do stay in touch. And I hope that all of us will be submitting applications soon. All right. Thank you, Sanjay, as well for your help. Excellent.
Thanks again, Brendan. And thank you to the audience. Thank you for taking out the time. Those of you who have your one-to-one scheduled with Brendan today evening, please connect to the calendar invitation link that you have got. So join those Zoom meeting rooms at the scheduled time, and we'll see you all over there. Thank you again, audience. Thank you again, Brendan. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.